I put Merry Grisbert Street, Somerset, because that seems to be not many people joined up yet. So
it's time, is it?
no, but it's not far off. And last time, well, Chris said that she couldn't get in, so and there were.
Let the video off. They don't want to see us eating our food. So far, there's 7 participants, but it says 5 minutes to go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Lossiemouth, trained by the leading Irish trainer Willie Mullins, stormed to victory in the Champion Hurdle, the first big race of the meeting. Lossiemouth is now a 4-time winner at Cheltenham. John Hunt was commentating on the race for Radio 5 Sports Extra.
Lossiemouth, the last flight, she's over safely. Nixie made a terrible mistake, that's not for him.
Of course, I can't hear it if it's through your hearing aids.
This doesn't come to my hearing aid, darling. This is the laptop. It's not the phone.
Can't hear anything. Perhaps that's because there's no sound. Do you want to put it on there?
Video on. Yeah, we could put it on there. Actually, that's a good idea.
You hear me? Hello.
I can hear you. I don't know about anyone else.
I can hear you too.
You have the link. Peter? You have the link? Do you have the link? Haven't you got it? Sorry? Haven't you got it? Well, do you want to just sit in? Do you want to just sit in with it?
I do not know.
Just going to say good evening, and if you would like to put your email addresses in the chat room, if you would like to become part of the MP Watch group, then do feel free, and just a welcome while everybody's joining in. If you'd like to say where you're from, which part of the country you're in, that would be great too.
Do you want us to say now or at some point?
You can type it into the chat, that would be great, while we're just waiting for people to join.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you, everybody.
So who's this left?
Hi, Morag.
Hi.
My goodness.
It's great to see so many of you here.
I'm gobsmacked. I'm a bit thrown. I used the wrong link. Well,
We're
it
here.
is in fact 1 minute past 6:30. So I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you wonderful people. I'm absolutely amazed to see so many people. I said I'd be a spotter. There's no way I could see all these people, see if somebody wants to have a question. So what we are doing tonight is a warm welcome to MP Watch to all of you. And some of you may well know us, some of you may well not. My name is Laura Stevens, and I'm just introducing tonight. We will have, I've got a little bit of echo. I don't know.
Echo.
Okie dokie. We will.
Can you ask everyone to go on mute so we don't have any feedback?
That's an excellent idea. Could you all mute yourselves, please? Thank you ever so much. Yes, my name's Laura Stevens, and first of all, I will be introducing MP Watch via Dave Hatchett. Today's webinar is, however, all about NEB, also known as the People's Emergency Briefing, depending. And some of you will have come via the National Emergency Briefing. Some of you may have come via Climate Emergency Centres, and some of you via MP Watch. One of our group members, Dave Hatchett, will give a little bit of information about MP Watch for any of you who do not.
Stop reading or whatever it is. Be quiet, please.
Perhaps be quiet, please. Could mute. That would be good. Thank you. And after Dave just has given a brief introduction to MP Watch, Simon, hello, I can see you now, Simon. We'll be talking about the NEB and how MP Watch can lend a hand. We also, I just want to mention before we get going, we do send out a regular email, not that often, with as a what's the word? Like a mini newsletter, a regular update. So if you would like to receive that, please put your email in chat, or you can sign up on our website, which is mpwatch.org, but I'm sure that's very easy to find. At the end, after Simon's done his little blurb, we will be having questions. So if you have a question, you might want to put it in the chat or not, because it might occur to you all of a sudden. In the meantime, therefore, I will ask Dave Hatchett to introduce MP Watch. And I hope you'll hang around. Thank you very much for coming. It's lovely to see you all.
Okay. Thank you very much, Laura. That's a nice introduction. Thanks. So I'm just going to have a few slides that I put together. So I'm just going to share them to hopefully show you what MP Watch is all about and how we can help with the emergency briefing activities. So I will now, I hope, share my screen. And can everybody, or can somebody anyway, let me know if you can see these slides?
Yeah, that's
All
good.
fine. All fine.
Okay, great. So MP Watch is who we are, and we were set up in 2020, really coalesced out of about 3 or 4 different constituency groups who all had the same idea. They all spotted that their
it's fine. Fine now, yeah.
Their MPs were the climate deniers or climate change, not acting in the best interests of our climate or nature. And obviously there were organised groups such as those from Tufton Street and certain areas of the country, such as 1 or 2 places such as Oxfordshire, Witney in Oxfordshire, North East Somerset and Wickham, all had this idea and got together to form MP Watch to counter this. So the idea is enabling constituents to get together to hold their MPs accountable. So it's not just about nobbling the bad guys, it's also about recognising the good ones. And if we have MPs that we know are responsible, who are promoting good climate practice, then we get together with them, we help them. So yeah, work streams really are to collaborate, to build the relationships with those MPs who are doing the right thing and work with them to increase the action on achieving net zero, to inform, and this was something that we decided would be a good adjunct to the collaboration with the MPs, to actually write information in the form of briefings or in the form of films to educate. These are actually written by highly qualified technical people, scientists and experts. We pitch them not to be too heavy, basically to keep MPs interested and engaged who aren't necessarily experts in that given field, but just enough to, to make them punchy. And then also to campaign, to keep everybody focused on what we know we face, the danger, the risk of climate change and the nature emergencies that go with it, and keep them at the top of the political agenda. So that's what we do. So here's an example of what we've done on a couple of different issues. The planning and infrastructure bill, and I'm sure a lot of people will not need any introduction to what this is. This was a really unpleasant piece of legislation introduced in 2025. We wanted to expose the dangers of this and we wrote a briefing paper on that. And another one dear to my heart, I have to say, is sustainable aviation fuels. These are an absolute classic greenwash. They are not sustainable in any meaningful sense. At the moment, they're taking waste oil from processes where it would already have been used sustainably and re-diverting it after much faffing into the aviation field. So that's another need to be exposed, and the paper does that very thoroughly. Just to show you our presence, we have a website which is really informative, and I would very much recommend a good look at it. It's got lots of fascinating information on it, and it also tells you a lot about what we do. We're on Twitter, we're also on Blue Sky, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, and one or two other places. So we've got a big presence in, social media, and this is recognised by MPs and by the public. So what are we here for today? In terms of the NEB PEB activities, I'm going to invite Simon, obviously, in a moment to expand on this, but as we see it from an MP Watch perspective, we are going to move forward through this year and no doubt into next year to work collaboratively with the NEB team and take the next steps to raise public awareness of this very serious, grave problem that we face. We're going to work with the local groups, which is effectively our strong point. We have distributed teams across the UK in particular constituencies, and they're well placed to network and to promote the PEB film screenings. So that's perfect. And also, again, if invited by Simon and his team, we could probably look at producing briefing papers in the future on specific issues that are relevant to the NEB's mission. So yeah, apart from NEB, we obviously have other strings in our bow as MP Watch. We're producing other briefings and films in the next year or two on loss of habitat, protections from threats such as the Fingleton review. Again, people here may or may not know this. Fingleton is a guy who's been set on by this current government to write how to smooth the path of developments in such as nuclear power. But it's broad, it's wide. His mission seems to be to remove most of the protections in certain areas which are currently protecting nature. So obviously we need to expose that. Also, we're going to intend to look at the suppressed DEFRA climate security report that, again, people probably know about. This is something the government themselves commissioned, and as soon as they read it, they reacted with horror and buried it. And a little part of it has crept out, but not all that much. And also, honesty in politics is another big one in our mission for 2026-27. Currently lying in public office, unlike many other fields, is still legal, believe it or not. We want to stop that. So a public campaign that MP Watch can help will hopefully bring that to people's attention and put some pressure once and for all to stop, to make this actually illegal. So, in summary, that's what we do, and I'm going to hand over again into Simon in a moment, but we're always looking for new constituencies where we can be represented. Please do join us. We'd love to see you. The website has info on how to join, or just put your information onto the chat in this webinar, and we'll do the rest. So thanks very much. Hope that was useful, informative, and right, I'll now hand over.
Hello, everyone, and it's very nice to be here. I have to apologise. I come bearing no presentation, which is something I don't like to do, but it's flat out here at NEB headquarters. I've actually been diverted a little bit over the last week because Chris Packham's managed to organize a back channel to Ed Miliband, which has allowed me to create a report for him on carbon capture for power, which is just, as everyone knows, is shockingly awful. It's about building new gas power stations fed by LNG from the US and Qatar, and the emissions are going to be just off the scale. So that's one of the things that NEB's sort of managed to achieve. Hopefully we can get his ear, because he's listening to fossil fuel companies far too much. So I think I'm assuming that most people on this meeting know all about the NEB. So I'm not going to go over a lot of detail. and I think I'll just say a few words, and I think it's probably best we go over to questions, because I think that will draw out what you all are wanting to find out. The key thing I think to emphasize is that the NEB was always conceived of in two phases. So it sort of came about with my frustration that the climate and nature bill just getting kicked into the long grass despite loads of MP support, because MPs just seem to be listening to the whips more than their constituents. And although there's lots of good campaigns all around the country, everyone's pushing on different things at different times. And incidentally, that's one reason I really like MP Watch, is to get people to focus on the thing that's coming up in Parliament. I used to be out on Twitter and what have you, talking about all sorts of stuff, but it wasn't around. There was nothing that could be done about it at that time. So talking about stuff when the legislation's coming up is brilliant. But plugs from MP Watch aside, I thought that the problem was that MPs, they need to hear a lot more. They need to feel a lot more pressure from constituents, or let's reframe that, at support from constituents for taking action, the action that we know is necessary. And so we thought, well, where's the COVID style briefing? Now information alone isn't going to shift the dial for people, but there is a real deficit of information. So that was the first thing to set out to try and address. So the event in Westminster was, we picked 10 experts, 10 sort of favorite experts across the whole range of the polycrisis, and then sort of work with them to draw out the scary stuff that a lot of people weren't talking about, but also the really optimistic stuff. And it was really difficult getting that balance right. And it's obviously really important to have the positive in there. And personally, I do feel a lot of positivity that if we take the emergency action that all the experts know is necessary, we can make life so much better for so many people. And yes, I know there's a lot of bad stuff locked in, but there's so many co-benefits, so many enormous benefits if we act. So there is real positivity there. Now that briefing was pretty fact heavy, and it was aimed at policymakers, and it was aimed at influential people. We had some fantastic people helping us bring people along, like CEOs of banks and insurance companies, but we also had a lot of people who were sort of in the bubble, you might say. But then they also included the heads of NGOs who, in my experience, and this sounds ridiculous, they just focus on their one little bit, and they don't get all the wider impacts, and they're not necessarily advocating for emergency action, and they think, let's just work with the government and we'll have a little bit more incrementalism. And so I think there was quite a lot of power in them sitting down and hearing the whole thing. And frankly, I think very few people have heard that whole thing across the piece, including national security. And we got really good out. We were really pleased with the outcome from that, because we sort of engaged all these ambassadors who were going out and doing a load of stuff. Now, the second phase is where it goes outwards to people who really haven't come across it before, who haven't had the bandwidth to think about it, and haven't been told about it in the media. And we're trying to reach right across society as well, because that's when MPs start taking notice. So the film, currently in production, and I'm starting to see some little snippets of it, and it's looking great. It's hosted by Chris Packham, and it's got, reactions from ordinary people. It's got some interviews off to the side of the venue, where we took the scientists in one at a time, and we got more the human story from them, how this all makes them feel. And people react, these emotional buttons are well evidenced to be what gets people to react, not a whole load of facts. But we had to lay the facts down as a foundation to build on top of. And so this this film, you know, and then there's ordinary people in there giving reactions, and that's going to help people with sort of emotional cues, people coming to this cold who weren't sitting in this big grand room and feeling the occasion. Did I say at home? It's not going to be screened at home, at least not for a while. So the really important thing about this film is that we are using it, we're not showing it online, and we're using it as a way to attract MPs in, because MPs love, or they find it really hard to resist turning up where there's a big group of people to get together. And it's not just about, you know, it's not just about bringing the MP, but it's about them sitting and watching it together with people in their community, and not just the people that they might have been conditioned to write off as the usual suspects, the people who care about the environment, which is why we're really pushing to get the involvement of the likes of the WY and, you know, faith, you know, the Church of England and other faith groups and chambers of commerce and that sort of thing. So we want them sitting in a room with people right across the constituency, and then their constituents can look them in the eye at the end and say, look, come on, we've all just heard that. We've all heard unequivocally we're not doing anywhere near enough. We need to do more. It's going to benefit us if we do. Can you please stop just sending me these ridiculous party line emails that say everything's fine and I'm proud of my targets? And the idea is to get them to sign up to our parliamentary call for the government to do a televised emergency briefing. Now that on its own is only one bit of it, but I think that's quite significant. If we can get, and we think we can, over half of MPs signing up to this, because it's quite a low bar. It's not like support the climate and nature bill and all these very detailed, you know, it's not even that detailed, the climate and nature bill, but it's bold and transformative. But just agreeing to brief the public on what you just heard, it sounds eminently reasonable. And I think it's going to be very difficult for these MPs to say no to that. We've got, I don't know, 40 or so on there so far, but that's just the first wave, and we haven't really started yet. It's when we get people in front of the MPs that we start getting support for that. And we think that if the government does a genuine briefing, not like the one in 2022 when Angus Rose went on hunger strike and they did this ridiculous sort of PR job from the government chief scientist that didn't even mention nature, and it was just awful. It was saying, it was terrible. But we've shown, that you need to involve independent scientists who are the experts in their field, and you need to talk about wider societal impacts. But if they do that, they just can't keep saying everything's fine. So that's one thing. And we see as the NEB, that is sort of our mission boundary. Because one of the things we've done, and one of the reasons we've got such wide support from like the Church of England, National Trust, RSPB, some universities, no one said they won't support us. And in fact, our list is only limited by our bandwidth. And actually there are loads more organizations supporting us than we've put on our website, which is a sort of carefully curated list to show that we're not sort of extreme. So by agreement with Greenpeace, for example, we didn't put Greenpeace on there, and they sort of agreed with that, because we're trying to appeal to make this look like very civic and Middle England. And it's a ridiculous game to have to play, but we need to play these games. Now I got lost in a digression there. So we are there. So our non-political neutral stance, where we're literally aiming to take people and politicians over this threshold of understanding that this is a lot more serious than most people realize, and it's more imminent. That's our core goal. And I should say on that, there are some people who say, look, everyone knows about the climate crisis already. We don't need to give them more facts. Now, I really disagree with that, having done loads and loads of outreach work and knocked on loads of doors during last election. And, yes, a lot of people know the headlines, they don't know the detail. They don't know the wider societal impacts. And actually, the filming that we did really drove that home. We had all sorts of randomly selected people from across society, and they just watching their faces when they're hearing this stuff, blimey, why has no one told me this? And no one has. Okay, there's the odd newspaper article, but it's scarcely anything. So so to wind this up, we're pushing for that, to get the message out to the public. But these events are not hosted by us. They're hosted by good people like yourselves, these screenings. And the film is only half of it. The film is designed to be followed by a sort of structured, facilitated discussion. And we are where the community talks about, it's not about challenging the facts in the film. They've been laid down by experts. That's not the point. The point is to talk about implications for the local community, what next, how it makes people feel, sort of emotional processing. And now we're taking a lot of advice on this from the likes, and we're working very closely with the Climate Psychology Alliance, with Mike Berners-Lee and a range of people. And we're going to put out, we're close to publishing our film screening guide, which has got a whole range of stuff in that you'll find useful. But in particular, it's going to have this guidance on doing this facilitated discussion with some sort of suggested sort of scripts. Now, lots of people who've got experience of this will go off on their own path, and there are loads of different ways to do this, but we're just going to put one suggestion out there. And we very much sort of recognize that local groups will add on, the request to sign the parliamentary call is embedded at the end of the film. So Chris Packham mentions it. And then it's very much for local groups then to add on whatever they're focused on. So 0 Hour will talk about the Climate and Nature Bill, and WWF will talk about their Living Planet Act. And that's all fine. It keeps us sort of neutral, and it keeps us sort of supporting this really big network that's coming together around this one thing. And that's where I think the power lies, is when everyone starts talking about one thing all at once. I was going to say one more thing. No, I'm sure it'll come up in questions. So, yeah, the other thing was just to say what else is in this pack. So we're really hoping to get it out tomorrow. It'll be like a slide deck thing with links that you click through to get the different resources. So there'll be customizable posters. There'll be template invites for MPs and councillors and business groups and emergency service people. And by the way, people like the fire brigade are really interested in this, and we're working quite closely with them. And it's really exciting, actually. They've got a fire engine that they'll bring to drive to one or two of our high-profile screenings. And we've already got a screening booked in a cathedral in Newcastle, and there's so much going on there. And it's got a template press release and social media graphics and all sorts of stuff. Not all of it will be there straight away, and the facilitation guide will probably take another week, but we'll get it out to you so that you've got stuff to get going with, and then we'll fill in the gaps as we go. So it's like a living document. So that's the overall strategy. Oh, let me say one more thing. Excitingly, we've got NEBs starting to form in other countries around the world. So that's another thing that's held us back, is that we've had so much interest that we've decided to document the whole thing, how we did it, steps to get going. We've adapted our website and turned it into like a core of a very generic website that a new NEB can pick up and then run and build with. So there's an NEB in Germany with a fantastic team who we've been in discussion with for the last month or so, and they're set to announce probably this week, and we'll go live with their website even. So they're looking at holding an NEB in the Bundestag. There's a project in Netherlands where they're looking to raise 1.6 million euros and have NEBs in multiple countries around Europe, all focusing on the European Parliament. And then the group covering climate now in the US, talking about 3 in the US, 2 in Canada, 1 in Brazil, 1 in India. I mean, and they're putting serious time into this. So, the German one's going to happen. I don't know about the others, but it is exciting. And once that pops up, I think it sort of starts to create some extra momentum. And then the final thing, sorry, and I'll stop rabbiting on, is that George Monbiot, we met George Monbiot a couple of weeks ago, and he really loves this. I mean, he lives just a short cycle away from me, so it's quite handy for going, sort of messaging and saying, George, can I come and tell you about this latest thing? And he says he's really positive about it. So he's going to write an article, and that should really help to, which I think is going to land towards the end of this month. So that should really help to sort of kickstart extra screenings and drive people to screenings. So thank you, and let's hand over to questions.
Can I jump in with the
Joe.
first
Oh,
question?
hi there, Joe.
Hi. So I'm linked to a venue called Belmont Estate near Bristol. They want to show a screening. They said they emailed you, and they'd got a response saying that there'd been 6,000 organisations applied to show the screening, and that you were sort of sifting through and confirming who could and couldn't show the screening, and they're chomping at the bit. Is that correct? They're chomping at the bit to.
That's. Do you know that there has been a little bit of confusion because there are a number of groups who are setting up and publicizing this, and sometimes people end up going to a different group. Like there's climate emergency centers and there's Zero Hour, and sometimes people aren't sure who they're dealing with.
Okay.
Now I'm not the one dealing with that, but I can't imagine anyone. That's not a message that we would put out, because what we're asking people to do is to go to our website, nebriefing.org.
Yeah.
NE. And then on the film page, there's a register to host a screening. So all you do is you fill that in, and then we send you some more information with a more detailed questionnaire that sort of explains what you need to know.
I think they've done that. And then
in that case, we wouldn't be telling anyone they can't do a screening.
Okay, great, because they're super clear. I want to go and support them with it. Obviously, I was there, with you guys the other day, and it was fantastic.
Joe, send me an email, and I'll double check in case, and I'll check with my colleague Meg, who's organising it all.
I'll drop you Meg an email on that. I've got another query as well, but I won't. There's other questions, so I won't hold up that. I'll just follow up with you on something else. But thank you to you and MP Watch for all you're doing. You guys are amazing.
Brilliant, thanks, Joe, and back at you, Viola.
Regarding the logistics of receiving the film, because it's only a month away, and I'm sure there are some people who want to show it on the 7th. Is the film going to be made available beforehand? Do you know anything about it, how it is going to happen, so we don't have any hiccups when we show it?
Yes, we don't. I don't know all the details exactly yet, but we were just talking about this today, that with it being the Tuesday after Easter, we're probably going to have to send it out on the Thursday to be safe. So that's the date we're working to. In terms of the technical details about exactly how the film comes out, that's being finalized, and we're speaking to the Community Cinema Network, I think that's the right name, and various other community cinema people who are advising us on how best to do it, because one of the things we just want to be careful with is we don't want it getting out into the wild and getting onto the internet, because, as I said, the power is in watching it together, and it's about creating that sense of occasion, and we don't want people just grazing on it and half watching it. It's because it's got real emotional resonance, and I think it's so important for those emotions to be shared together in a room and to turn into something. But we are very conscious that it needs to be available for people who are not tech savvy, and it needs to work in a village hall that doesn't have the internet and all that sort of thing. So we're absolutely, we're clued up to that, and we'll make sure it's right. And Jess, hi.
Hi. Well, it all sounds brilliant, and how amazing that you're in with Miliband as well. That sounds very hopeful. Simon, have you done anything with maybe you're trying not to be too political, but the climate change and national security report that was suppressed, that seems to really be in favor of your project. So how is there any way you want that framed? Are you waiting for more information to come out? My understanding is that ITV has seen most of the report, even though it hasn't necessarily been reported on.
We are, excuse me, yes, it is very adjacent to what we're doing. And General Richard Nugent, who spoke at the talk, is pretty clued up on that. And in fact, what he's talking about is very aligned with what's in that report. So we've been boosting it and talking about it on social media, but Nick and I are sort of doing the social media along with everything else. And so we'd love to have a full-time social media person, and then we really would be hitting it. But various other people like Rupert Reed and others are really on it, and they're getting a lot of traction with that. So it's happening, and I think it's really helping make the case. And wherever it pops up, we sort of jump in and say, look, and this, you know, demonstrates the need for a televised emergency briefing. Just being frank with people.
Well, I mean, maybe you need to make nearer the time a sort of network of communications, because we're happy to use our comms as well, although, you know, yours will probably be bigger at this stage. But if, you know, you have got a lot of bigger organizations, haven't you? What did you raise the money for, and how is that going to be deployed? That's my last question. I'll let somebody move on.
We've raised, thanks to incredibly generous donors, around 150,000+. When we started that crowdfunder, we only had a guesstimate of how much the film would cost, and the film has come in at I think something like 180,000. I can't remember exactly. It's amazing how much it costs, and you know what? When you're there on set, you kind of get it, because there were so many people involved, and the whole set that they have to build and take down, and it really was pared back, and margins were pared back. But that, you know, what we've gone for is we decided not to cut corners, and we decided that we would make a film that is TV grade, broadcast quality. I mean, for one thing, the sort of the stock media footage costs £60,000. Now we've managed to get that discounted to 10 by offering the film for free. Anyway, so the money's for that. It's sort of supposed to be for a small team of people to sort of work on promoting it and distributing it and connecting with all our partners and supporting the rollout all the way through the rest of the year. And we've extended the crowdfunder target to sort of cover that. So we've got 2 people. Nick and I work for free, and we'll carry on working for free. And we've got 2 people working for us, and then we've got Nick's 2 creatives from Climate Science Breakthrough. We also have had a very generous donor who's offering £20,000 to pay for a fundraiser to raise some significant funds so we can scale up more, because we really could. We could do so much more if we had more people.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But thank you for your work. Yeah.
Thank you. Leslie, then Kaz, then Helen.
Thank you. It all sounds really great and really positive that we'll get the televised briefing. I just wondered, would you also get control of what's in the televised briefing? Because it would be disastrous if they controlled the content and said, "Don't worry, dears, it will be okay."
Yes. Well, sorry. No, we won't, because it will be government led, but we'll do our damnedest to make sure that we box them into feeling that they've got to stay within certain guidelines. So one of the things that is on our list, it's fairly high priority, but we don't think they're suddenly going to do a briefing yet, not at least until the film's been going for a while. But it's on our list to specify and publish exactly what a briefing should look like. And again, we'll be taking advice from scientists and from psychologists, because it won't look like the briefing in Westminster, because I said that's too fact heavy. But there are certain qualities that it has to have, like it has to have independent experts. It can't just be the government chief scientist, or it's going to be taken as PR, which it would be. So we'll do our best to make it so that the government feels it has no choice but to do it properly, because if they don't, there'll be a backlash.
You said earlier that information isn't enough. So I wonder if you'll be able to get into the content something about giving people agency to act with the information, and local preparedness and things that people can do, as well as the information that hopefully spurs them on.
Absolutely agree with that. Agency is so key, and we see agency emerging in 2 ways. One is the feeling that actually, yes, you can come together and persuade your MP to make this call. And yes, if we get enough of them, we can get the televised emergency briefing. That's one thing. But that's just one thing. The other thing, absolutely agree, is things like building local resilience plans. Now, my sister heads up Greener Henley, and they are doing a screening, but they're doing a different model to the standard screening. It's an invitation-only screening for the MP, for councillors and business people and just local influential people. And they are really pushing people to sort of sign up commitments to sort of develop flood resilience planning and all that sort of thing, and looking at diets. And they're almost doing that as a sort of first stage to kind of build this web of ambassadors before you get these local community centre screenings. So there are lots of models. And I'm also a big fan of what Climate Majority Project are doing, which is, for many people, it feels too overwhelming looking at emissions. And a lot of people say, well, what about China, which is a ridiculous thing to say, of course, because China's, investing more in solar and wind than the rest of the world combined. It should be, what about America? But building resilience is something that is worth doing, even if no one else acts. And so that is, we see ourselves as part of this ecosystem, with these other groups doing great work on that in terms of agency. Kaz.
Yes, thanks, Simon. Thanks for everything you and the team and everyone here is doing. It really is amazing, and we can feel the energy, and it's really exciting, and it's kind of like something that we can all get behind. But one of the questions I had was about online screenings, because when I've been kind of querying and requesting information about that, seems to be a bit of reluctance to kind of talk about that and to kind of enable that. We're particularly interested because we've got something booked in actually for the 23rd of April, which is with invitations to all councillors across Dorset, including parish councillors, of which altogether there's probably about 1,000. But there seems to be, can we do that? Can we screen it online? In rural communities, it's sometimes very difficult to get leaders together because we're, potentially 70 miles apart. And something, so we just wanted to kind of like a defining answer about that, and also thinking about people with limited mobility or additional needs who might want to watch from home, but still a watch party together where you can still have an assembly style conversation afterwards. So if we really want to make this inclusive, it just feels like all formats should be equally available. So just would like to know what the reluctance is, and if that is just imagined or if it's real.
No, it's absolutely real, and we can see there are arguments for online screenings, but it's absolutely core to our strategy that we use physical gatherings of people to bring in the MPs, because it's really hard to get the MPs to watch the film otherwise. That's point one. Then there's something about that shared experience, physical shared experience, when bringing people together. Now, people really love connection, and when I ran South Devon Primary and we went to each sort of local town and got groups up and running, they loved coming together and they formed connections. And then they actually went out and did stuff, and they got real agency from that. And we had so many people saying, I've never got involved in anything like this before. And it created so much positivity. The facilitated discussion is also really, it's going to be a pale reflection on online compared to in a physical setting. And also with online screenings, very often with these sort of things, people drift away and they're doing other stuff while they're watching it. So now we understand that there are also some good reasons to do screenings online, but we really don't want to lessen the impetus for people to come to a physical screening and for this to be an occasion. So at first, we are focusing on physical screenings, and then we're saying we just don't really know when yet, because it depends when they start to peter out a little bit. We'll then shift on more to online screenings, and there is then the possibility of it finding its way onto TV. And Chris Packham is actually really chomping at the bit to go and talk to Channel 4 and BBC. It's great actually. Chris Packham is really fired up about it, which is very exciting. We are. If there is a case that an online screening is going to, like a closed online screening is going to lead to more physical screenings, and it won't detract from any physical screenings, and that's a really, really clear case, we'd be up for doing that. But it's quite a difficult thing to decide. Can I just
So
bring
Simon,
you?
Simon, can I just respond to that? Because this is one of those cases. I mean, these are community leaders, right? These are councillors, so town and parish councillors. And the point of doing this is so that they can watch with other councillors and have a discussion about that, and then go into their own communities. So we're talking about something like 1,700 communities in Dorset that have a parish or town council, so that they can do that. Now, during COVID, ourselves as Extinction Rebellion, we ran dozens and dozens of online community assemblies about all kinds of very emotive subjects. And with the right facilitators, with the right skills, which we believe that we have because we've been doing it, this can be done. And like I say, for some people, it is not an option to get to a village hall. So we're going to exclude people with mobility and additional mobility needs and additional needs, just because we surely have to be looking at ways that we can engage everyone, including people who either through preference or because of their situation cannot get outside of their home. So we would like to. I mean, the difficulty is we've advertised this screening online with councillors because we did not dream for one moment that this would not be a possibility. So should we unadvertise it, or is there a way to make that accessible?
You've made a very strong case for it. I would say that in terms of people who have accessibility needs, we absolutely don't want to exclude those. It just means that it would be a few months down the line before we're intending to look at online screens. And I thought we'd had that quite clear on our webpage, but we'll go back and look at that. But you've made a good case about it. This is maybe a special case that will access more screenings. But I hope you understand that there are lots of people asking for online screenings because they want to see it. But we're trying to, if possible, channel those people to go to a physical screening because there's much more likely to be something that comes from it. So we are just sort of cautious that not to open the floodgates. And once we sort of start to make public exceptions, the physical screenings then sort of start to melt away a little bit. But I think I heard Meg talking about it today. I think maybe you've been in email contact. So I'll have a look at it tomorrow. And it sounds like this is an exception we could make.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Who was next? Who did I say? Helen, then Julie?
There's also Jim and Green, Jim and Sue Green. I think they were before Julie.
Go for it. I'll leave you, Laura, to say who's next.
No, not at all. It's
Hello?
Yes, Jim.
No, my question is about timing. Having seen something on the chat about trying to get something in before the local elections, where we are, basically the thinking has been people will be tired in terms of campaigning, so I don't think we could do it anyway, but we're looking at sometime in May. Is there a sort of optimum time that screening should, in your view, be done by?
No, actually, and I think whatever works for you and for you yourselves as hosts and your perception of what's right for the local community, because what we'd really like to see is this having a sort of slow build up all the way through the year. It actually is probably isn't ideal just to have them all screened very quickly at the same time. Now, we know there are some groups who've just been keen to get this going, and there will be a bit of a bang at first, but absolutely May, June, whatever you think's right. We expect the screenings to be continuing on through into the autumn, and there are some getting booked for then now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Shall I call it then Julie, then Lucy, then Viola?
Thanks very much, Simon, and everybody. It's so nice to see all your faces. So I think you've answered most of my questions, which is why I put my hand down. But to your point about reaching, outside the bubble, reaching the general public, I think this is a really important one. And, we're trying to run an event quite early. I think I spoke to you about it, actually, about an event in a Market Square on the 6th of April, which is a warm-up, really, to get people thinking about sustainability is how we're framing it, and just to start to engage people. And I just wondered if that if you're releasing the film on the Thursday, is there a hard embargo until the 7th on it?
That's a detail we have to sort out, and absolutely yes. I mean,
Yeah.
the idea of releasing on a Thursday is not to stress people out, having an event on the Tuesday and not necessarily being sure that they've got the film. But absolutely, will have to be an embargo. That's going to be really clear. But thank you.
I thought there probably would be, yeah. So I mean that's the main thing. But I think one of the key things here is trying to bring in, as you say, the not the usual suspects and reaching the majority and bringing those into a setting with politicians and councillors who are used to going to meetings. I think that mix is a little bit tricky. So any learnings anyone gets in the early events, I think the first event we're running is the 16th of May. I'd really be up for hearing. So thanks.
Yeah, that's a great idea to share advice on that, isn't it? And sorry, I didn't realise there were two Julies with their hands up. So let's go to the other Julie.
Hi, that's me. Okay, I'm in Dorset. I do an awful lot of work with CAS. For the last 6 years now, we have run monthly climate and nature support groups for all of our councillors across the whole of Dorset. That's the whole of Dorset Council, which is a unitary, all our town councils, which are over 20 of them, and over 200 parish councils. We get huge support. They come along. We have good facilitated discussions afterwards. Now, some of those town and parish councils have already put their hands up and said, we will do a screening. Kaz and I have drawn together a list of everything that's going on in Dorset. So that's good news. But we want to push this out to all the others and get as many as possible to do local screenings. And the way to do that is to engage with those important people in our community, the councillors, which is why Kaz has made the case here for this online screening. Plus the fact we do have to think about the very rural nature. You've built up a momentum here, Simon. The campaign has done absolutely fantastically. It's rocking and rolling by the hour here in Dorset with more and more interest, more and more support. But what we mustn't do is forget the really basic stuff. We want to go outside the bubble. We want the people who maybe who haven't engaged, who haven't thought about this, to come along, yes, to the physical screenings, but also to be able to see this in any way that we can get them to see it, because we want them writing to our MPs. We want them to do things. In Dorset, when Kaz and I have been doing things in the last year, one thing that's come out very clearly to us is people are really concerned. They want to do something. They want to know what they can do. And these screenings and these discussions are a way of us getting a message across and giving them something that they can do. So it's good that you're going to look at this tomorrow, but I would really make the case that you must not forget the rural communities. Do you know what? Look at the bus service in Dorset. It's crap. It's awful. Most of our villages have no bus service, no public transport at all. How the hell am I going to get those people to a public screening? Got to find other ways to do this, Simon. Otherwise, well, at the moment, certainly myself and other people here in Dorset, I'm spending all day, every day on building a momentum here. And I'm feeling that momentum is kind of sliding away from under me a little bit, because I'm not getting that really kind of, yes, we can do this, we can do this. We've got to make it simple. I want to go into a village hall and be able to press one button. I don't want to be fighting with digital stuff. And if people can't come to those meetings, we want to be doing it in a way that we can deliver it, because you've asked us to deliver this and we want to deliver this. So we need your support. I'll shut up.
Well, Julie, thanks it sounds like you're doing fantastic work there. Kaz has persuaded me. I don't want you to have to cancel your event, but I just want to emphasize that we have said that we are phasing this, and I don't want this to move away and become something that's online straight away, because it's a carefully thought out strategy. We will get to it for other groups, but I hope you can see there are trade-offs there, and we're just trying to get the balance right. So we're doing the best we can. Lucy.
Well, Simon, I think the other thing is, I know that when people are going to be doing physical showings, you want us to go on to the website and to actually register that a showing is going to happen and give the date and everything. Well, I'm organising the one in Dorchester, the county town. I did actually fill in that form. I haven't heard anything back. And some of the viewings that I know that are going to be happening around Dorset, the people that I will tell them that they need to be doing this, but they haven't sort of logged on yet. So I don't think I don't, that because they haven't got their date yet. They're sort of, working out that they're arranged. I think maybe maybe there isn't an appreciation yet of how many local communities are actually going to do something on this. And we will have all of our MPs at least one of the big showings in Dorset, because we will, and we're already getting commitments from them to do that. So you don't kind of realise how many viewings there are in the pipeline. That's and all brilliant. Of the organisation that is being done around that. And when I will encourage them to go on and put it on the NEB thing and to register it, but there's only so much we can all do, as I'm sure you'll agree. And to get these viewings done is more important than saying to people, if I have to say to them, well, you've got to click on this website, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Do you know what? They're just going to say, oh, sod it.
Yeah, Julie, thank you very much. That sounds amazing. And let me tell you one other thing at this point is that we will very soon have a zoomable map on our website with pins for all the screenings. And I think that might help flush some of this out, because we're going to be sharing that heavily on social media, and you'll be able to zoom in and see where a screening is near you. And I think then people who are hosting the screenings will want to get the pin on the map, because it also will help them fill the hall, because people will be able to click on it and they'll be able to find out the details.
Thank you. Can we go to Viola now? She's been waiting a while for her question.
Sorry, I actually agree with Simon that it shouldn't actually be given out online for various reasons, because the community moment is really, really important. I know it's difficult in rural communities, but little halls, perhaps in village halls or in churches, etc. It's so important, different to what we normally do, just sit and watch in front and get all appalled by something we see. It is really the community effort which is important, I think. So I'm fully with you, Simon, and people can watch it later online from September onwards, whatever, because it takes away the possibility of actually discussing, talking, and getting the MPs actually to do that vital step, to get the MPs to ask for the televised briefing. The other issue is we've got quite a few people here in the room. Wouldn't it be good to put FOI requests regarding the full report, joint intelligence report out? I mean, I myself have done it. I know John Fuller is here, but it's only a few. So if we get a bit more pressure from more people, would that be helpful? That's my two questions.
Well, I think FOI requests is a great idea. Thank you. I mean, I think Julie and Viola, you've put different sides of a difficult discussion, and we'll keep reviewing it, and I'll get back to Kaz tomorrow. Should we go to Lucy?
We should.
Hello, I'm from Reading. Something that has cropped up in the course of various researching is that churches, for example, if they're putting on anything that isn't a service, have to have licensing for showing things like films. And I haven't had a chance to talk to my favourite vicar yet, because she's in the middle of exams. But it did occur to me that this might apply to other venues. And what do we do if it does?
Lucy, what sort of licensing do you mean?
Licensing to show a film.
Well, we are providing this film free of charge. So, and we don't require any licensing. So I'm not sure whether there's some other licensing that applies. But I think not. So I think that should be okay. And there is already a screening booked in a cathedral and some churches, so I think you'll find it's okay. There may well be something I don't know about, in which case, it'll be flushed out, but we will deal with it. And we are speaking to the Church of England and others at a senior level, and they're being fantastic, by the way, fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Lucy. Phoenix, then Phil. Hi, Phoenix.
Hi, Simon. Brilliant work. It's really gathering momentum. Just one of the things I wanted to chip in was it'd be really good if I think it's the screening guide or facilitation guide, something said about when people come together, that there is some kind of communication system set up, be that a WhatsApp group or an email list. I know from doing events, you get 100 people in the room, everyone disappears.
Yeah.
One of the powerfulest ones from the Portsmouth group was they said 50 people saw an environmental film before they felt isolated. Then they're from the doom and everything. And when they came together, they suddenly thought, there's 50 of us, we can do something. We want people to go away feeling they've joined a community and a network from coming to see the film. And 100%. Hopefully there's some, brilliant.
That's really important for us. I see the screenings as the genesis of new groups that will be made up of existing groups, but they might be groups that have all been pushing on slightly different things, but actually we're all fighting the same war here. And if we take emergency action, we'll deal with so many things. We'll deal with air pollution, inequality, health problems, dietary issues, just, people in cold homes. It's all the same.
All thing. Interlinked,
Yeah. And I think that if these groups come together and they realize that, hey, if we all push together at the same time on this thing, then all our aims are going to be met.
So really important if we link those networks, it's an alliance of groups
100%.
Comes together. If that's linked and giving people pathways to action to go on to do resilient community building. The other one about the map. So that's coming out next week or something. We're all talking to a lot of different groups, but if we can all see the map and then link up facilitators who can help with the community discussions or assemblies or whatever it is, and link up by regional chats and other things, then people can really start to see where that maps out how they can link up as many different groups regionally and stuff. So is that next week? Is it the map out?
Latest, hopefully. We're working with developers, so I should be getting a draft tomorrow.
Let's keep networking all the networks and the movement of movements. Brilliant work. Keep building up the momentum. Over.
Thanks, Phil. Then Ben, then David, please.
Yeah, hi Simon. It's excellent work. I just wanted to relay a discussion that we've had in our local NEB group. We've got a screening actually arranged in our village. It's quite a large village, about 5,000, and we've got our MP coming along.
Brilliant.
But in the discussion, they were concerned about the likelihood of whether he's going to attend multiple screenings, and if it would be better if he attended one in the largest venue or the largest town. So our constituency is Stevenage, which is quite nearby. And I've had a bit of a discussion with Jamie Russell from 0 Hour about this, and he reckoned that MPs are unlikely to attend more than one screening. So I just and he did come back and he said, well, it's more down to us because we will know what it's like in our local constituency. But I was just wondering whether you had any feel for whether MPs are likely to attend more, or I mean, if it is only one, should I just say to our MP, look, well, can you just attend one in Stevenage rather than ours, and just sort of sacrifice ours?
Thank you for looking at the bigger picture, and it's an interesting question, and we don't know yet, really. I suppose it might be that the MP will go to more because they really like to show their face if there's a big gathering of people. So I think Jamie, who I've got a lot of respect for, is probably right that you are probably best placed to know. And maybe you can, be in discussion with the other venue. Maybe you can go to the MP together and say, look, we'd really like you to come to both because the constituents would like to hear from you. Maybe you can have a go at that and report back on how it works. And then maybe we can learn from it as we go as a movement.
Yeah, because I would like to think that they are likely to attend more than one because it's over quite a long period. So
that's the thing, isn't it? It's not just geographically spaced, but spaced in time. So maybe let's go big.
Yeah.
I'd personally go that way, but I don't know your MP or your area.
Right. Fair enough.
But thank you, Phil. That sounds fantastic. Okay. Ben, then David, then Jessica.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Simon. Very good. Brilliant. Just speaking to this thing, you're talking about extending the bandwidth. It was just a thought that I've been having in terms of like reaching out to other parts of the civic society, really. And you've got these different domains that you're talking about. And one of the things I was considering was, trying to sort of build things up with union connections. Or you've mentioned chambers of Congress. That seems to be one side of that. And that's possibly trade unions, which can easily be neglected. And one of the problems I think we've got, I was thinking about Green New Deal, which probably needs a little bit of a push because it's had a lot of attack we certainly know from Reform, etc. And within the population, we've seen a lot of support leak away for the idea of Green New Deal. It's been subject to greenwashery. We know that because corporations are coming in with their own sort of take on that, which discredits it. But also we've seen within the population, I'm talking about the wider community, a lot of pushback on Green New Deal in terms of what this will cost. But I'm just thinking in terms of your, I've just been trying to sort of maybe think this through a little bit. You talk about people in NEB. Is this something where, you've developed connections? I'm thinking also about Ed Miliband, with certain politicians, there's a lot of credibility with trade unions. I know you're talking about MP screening, but then I'm also talking about how other parts of civil society can be influenced. Now, and I'm sure you'll be encouraging people. I know it's a phased thing, so this isn't a big rush. And I think trade unions would be quite is a challenge in some respects because you're going beyond the sort of normal normal suspects, middle class England. Could you just to ask you to speak to that, maybe, Simon, if you don't mind, and sort of say what with NEB is it being led up in any respect? Is somebody that I could maybe talk to or get advice on this?
Ben, you're really bang on the money there, and I totally agree with you. And I'm a big fan of trade unions, and they've become, they don't have enough power. They've sort of been depowered, haven't they, over the last few decades? And look what's happened as a result. So we are in touch with them. One union, Unison, is recommending to all its 700 branches that they screen the film. We're in close touch with the Fire Brigade Union, and they are looking at arranging screenings. And there's another union as well. I don't remember because my colleague Ben was dealing with it, and they're going to show it at their national congress on the big screen. And we're absolutely pushing that. I think it's for all the reasons you say. You're exactly right, because it's about getting out the bubble, isn't it?
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank
we're
you.
on it.
Good, great.
Did I say David, then Jessica?
Yeah, thanks, Simon, and really appreciate you giving your time and for everybody's input here. I was going to just flag a couple of things as I've been sort of trying to monitor the comments in the chat. A few questions about whether there's going to be a trailer for the film. Yeah.
I think by the end of next week.
Brilliant.
But I don't have an exact date, but there definitely will be one.
That's really helpful. And just picking up on what Ben's just been talking about and other things, if you're involved in any sort of organisation and a network, have a network, then please, say so and stick your hand up or get a message across to us, because we're building this network of groups to try and get access into as wide a cross-section of society as possible. So that's being led at the moment by Phoenix and the Climate Emergency Centres team to deal with lots of different sectors. And I know people were talking about, how are people contacting schools and universities? Those are the sorts of things that if you've got access into these networks, that we're looking for people to lead those sectors as well as in the regions. So just put your hands up if you're interested in getting involved in that. I say that, put it in the chat.
Thanks for that, David. And just to sort of emphasize that a little bit, we see the NEB as this sort of sort of open source content that anyone can pick up and build stuff from. And so we've got all these initiatives happening in different sectors. So we're in touch with some barristers who are organising a lawyers' emergency briefing in London to a load of senior legal professionals and judges and court and in-house company lawyers. And if we can get all the legal profession as worried as they ought to be about this and starting to raise the alarm for directors that unless they start taking this seriously, there could be some personal liability for them, like there are in other areas of sort of company law relating to directors, then that could have a big effect. And we've got an amazing group who are called the NEB educators, who they all met at the event, and they've made their own cut of the talks, and they're taking it out to schools, and they've approached 25,000 schools, and it's about getting teachers educated on this, as well as showing the film for sixth formers, because they're going to have the vote soon. So, and then in health, Hugh Montgomery, our health speaker, is involved with two fantastic groups who are looking at taking the film to every single hospital in the country and to GP surgeries, and they're aiming to reach all the NHS staff. So we're really sort of encouraging, and we're not really very involved in those things. We can't be, but we don't need to be, because they're literally building on what we've sort of our experts have created, and then they're making it relevant to their sectors. So there's real power in that.
Can I just interrupt, sorry, before Jessica or Morag or Alex comes in? I'm very aware of the time. Thank you, Simon. Obviously, if you're happy to just carry on for 5 more minutes, that would be brilliant. But there was a question about universities in the chat, and I wonder if someone can find out by using your website which universities signed up, or are universities on board, or how it's working. Thank you.
It takes a while to get organizations signed up, and when we were doing that process, it was about legitimizing the NEB and making it look safe for MPs to sign up to, and we wanted a few universities on there, and I think we've got 2 or 3. We haven't gone round chasing other universities because it takes more time than you think, and we've only got a few people. We don't really feel that's necessary. But there are universities who are organising screenings, and there are student unions, and we're probably not as well connected into the student unions as we'd like to be. Again, if we had another person, but all our bandwidth is on building all our guides and getting all the core stuff happening. Once we get that done, we'll be able to turn more onto sort of actively pushing outwards. And I absolutely would love to see it screened in every single university, and I don't see why it wouldn't be. It's literally just we need to get round to it. I hope that answers the question. Jessica, then Alex.
Yeah, but just really quickly, I do think it's worth emphasizing. I know you have, but I think it's worth re-emphasizing that this needs to be shown to people who aren't the usual suspects. So somebody was just talking about the WI there. Some WIs do amazing stuff, but that's the sort of group we need to get to. You said that George Monbiot is putting stuff out. Now, my worry about George Monbiot is he's tremendous, but he is progressive. Yeah. So I think you need Lord Deben and, some of the conservative folk to be doing something similar. It's easy, because we're all so busy, it's easy to sort of sit back and if the numbers are booking up, to just kind of be a bit passive. But I think that opportunities like this don't come along that often with this kind of energy. I mean, there's a flipping war on, so it's quite hard to get heard in the media at the moment. So I mean, I'm sounding a bit ranty, but I think that's a burden that we all need to put on ourselves to make sure this busts out of the usual suspects.
I think that's really well said, and I sort of suppose I see the George's article as a recruiting ground for more screenings, because those are the people he's speaking to. Yeah. And then it's the people who host the screenings. So we're sort of asking, please think about how you can bring in the people who don't normally engage with this, and even how you construct the events so that they're the sort of events that you know, your civic pragmatists and the other types of people who aren't so progressive might not feel uncomfortable in. You know, and that means maybe organizing an event a little bit differently to the way you might organize an event, and thinking about how it might land with those people, so we're not giving them excuses to write this off as just, you know,
yeah, that's a good
woke
point.
lefties, you know, and, you know, like things like music and the arts, you know, we all love that. Well, massive generalization, but you might find that if you get a bunch of people who are maybe like sort of reform curious, and you have sort of music performances or poetry, they might go, oh, this is just woke nonsense. So it's thinking outside your normal way of thinking, and that's what we've been trying to do all the way along with the way we've branded this, you know, with the flag and everything. It's just not what we'd normally go for. And when we came up with the flag, all those horrible protests were going on, and we were thinking, oh, really hate our logo, but that's not the point of it. The point was to appeal to people who don't normally listen to it and make it feel like it's something for them.
Yeah. So, for example, a good one, unfortunately, they're not here, Wickham, which is Emma, what's her name? The the environment minister. They've got a footballer there who's quite into ecology. So he would be a fantastic person to chat. Anyway, I said my point and you got it. I'll let you go on to Alex.
Thanks. Alex.
Alex's mic isn't working, so he's put his question in the chat.
Oh, is it right at the bottom? Let me just scroll down. I'm raising blah, blah, blah. My question is there a poster ready for the film, or do we need to make our own? We're screening the film 12th of April and need it ASAP for promotion. Yes, Alex, we are just finalizing that. We're just sorting out the technical difficulties of a poster in Canva where certain elements are locked down, like our logo, and other elements are free for just you to add your local details. And that should be going out tomorrow. And then there are a series of promotional posters that will be coming out over the next weeks. So hopefully tomorrow. It might slip till Wednesday, but we're really conscious that we need to get them out yesterday. So thank you. Does that answer your question? We're called no. You know, in the end, we're not trying to control what people do. And I'm just opened your website now, and it looks great. But we're not seeking to be super controlling, because this won't go out really fast if we say, look, everyone has to do it exactly like we say. So if you've got a creative idea and want to run with it, that's great. I guess the main thing we're wanting to avoid is people changing stuff on our posters so that it still looks like it's our content. I think if you're going to put it out under your own logo with some of our elements in there, that's great. And yeah, your website looks superb. Yes, we are trying to go for consistency, but if you need to get it out, don't let us stop you. Don't let us cause you problems. And you'll see, we'll be sending out our screening guide with our graphics in the next couple of days. And if you're registered to host a screening, you'll automatically get that. I hope that helps. And what's Becky saying? Too much black. Yeah, I mean, that's the look, that's the brand. It's the sort of serious government look. Interestingly, the German group have changed the website because they say it's got Nazi overtones. In Germany, let me hasten to add, in Germany. But it's interesting how, yeah, anyway, we're short of time. Is that all the hands finished now? I think we're done, aren't we? So thanks very much. And sorry, we've probably waffled on a bit long with some of my answers. I hope that was helpful.
Well done, Simon.
Thank you.
It was amazing, Simon. Thank you.
Well, thank you all, because it wouldn't happen without you doing all the screenings and everything. It's fun getting it out there. So thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you very much.
Question. What's the name of the German organization? I got some contacts.
Oh, I
knew you wouldn't know.
I can tell you in 1 minute when I just open the email. It doesn't trip off the tongue. Well, unless you're German, I'm sure it probably does. Do you know? I don't know if I can tell you.
No, Simon, it's Laurie. So you have my contacts.
Oh, hi, Laurie. Sorry, I didn't see you with the screen.
Because I have German contacts, and I'd love to push them from that side.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. I'll message it to you in a moment.
Great, Simon.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.